You're listening to The Recipe Podcast, episode number 12.
Welcome to The Recipe. Chef Charles Carroll is a culinary gold medalist, author of 3 books, and past president of the World Association of Chef Societies. He has produced shows, fed our troops in Afghanistan, and is executive chef at one of the busiest country clubs in the United States. Chef Charles has cooked thousands of recipes, but none as important as the one he'll be sharing with you today, as his incredible friends unveil their recipe for a successful life. And now, your host, Chef Charles Carroll.
Welcome into the Recipe Podcast, Celebrity Secrets to a Successful Life. I'm your host, Chef Charles Carroll, and what a great day and what a great show we have here for you today. I'm really super excited about it. And we have also in studio our editor and sound engineer, the famous, the one and only Phoenix, Phil Rosas. Say it ain't so, Phil.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, so Phil, what's up? Where's our third wheel here? I don't know.
I don't know. I think she's out with the truck somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. So our producer Jess, she's not here. So we got these 2 wing nuts trying to figure out stuff, and but we'll get through it. But before we get started, we have some things we need to take care of. And some first-time listeners out there, thank you for that, and hope you keep coming back. And if you're a longtime listener of the Recipe Podcast, thank you very much for that. If you love what you're hearing and you love what we are saying today, please go review, rave, rank, subscribe, share. You know the drill. It's a digital age. Love you for that. Just put a couple notes in there. And we appreciate all the help we can get. Phil and I we get paid so much to do this, Phil.
Tons.
We don't need the likes, but hey, we'll take them if you got them. So share it with a mother, share it with a brother, share it with a father or a friend, and share the show with whoever you think might enjoy it, and that will help us bring the show to you. So that's how it works, folks. And what else do we have? Phil, we actually got some stuff, right?
Yeah, we do have some free stuff. If you go and you can share, comment, or give an iTunes review, anything you do, we're going to put your name into a drawing. We're going to put your name into a hat, if you will.
A hat?
Yes.
A chef's hat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A toque. Mm-hmm.
Okay, a toque.
Yeah.
And then what are we going to do?
Basically, it's going to fall through. So, but
we'll take a name out of the hat.
Yeah, we'll take a name out of the hat, and then you're going to be basically in a running for some free merchandise from Stove Monkey Apparel.
Winner, chicken dinner.
That's right.
Wow.
At the end of each month, we're going to pick a winner. So go to our social media pages and share away. Well, we got that out of the way.
Wow. What more do you want from us, guys? We're giving you stuff. So, but Phil, this is an exciting time, man. Everything good for you? Have a good week?
Yeah, man. Just watching the baby, working, hanging out with the wife.
That baby's getting big, right?
Oh yeah, she's almost 2 years old now. She's saying a lot of things, getting into everything.
She's keeping you busy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. And Jess is out traveling and doing some other kind of stuff. I've been busy just doing my thing. That's about it.
Yeah. So how's your book going?
The book,
just launched, right?
The recipe. We've been slamming busy with the recipe. Yeah. Some of the listeners may not know, but John David Mann, a very famous author, and we just launched our new book, The Recipe: A Story of Loss, Love, and the Ingredients of Greatness. And Phil, the first day on Amazon, they ran out.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's got to be good. I don't know. I don't know if they bought 6 books and they ran out, or if they ran out of a couple hundred. I don't know. So we don't know what that means.
We've only got one in stock,
right? But you know what though? It was first in its category, a subcategory. It was first in new release in the motivational piece. So we'll take that.
Yeah, that's good.
And we got some movie interest.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
we were talking about that earlier.
I'm trying not to get too excited, but it's in front of 4 producers, but one team, father and son team. I can't get into the story, but it looks like the stars are lined up and they're smoking interested in the story, and we could bring something back to my hometown in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. So that's pretty special. So that's about enough of our world. We just want to get this show started because we have such a fantastic and wonderful actor, a very, very famous actor we're going to bring on. So we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back.
Today's episode of the Recipe Podcast is brought to you by Stove Monkey, apparel made by chefs for chefs. To check out their entire collection, you can go to chefcharlescarroll.com. If you rate us or subscribe to us on iTunes, drop us a line and like us on Facebook. If you do anything to let us know that you're listening and like it, we're going to put your name into a drawing and you will get a chance to win some free gear from Stove Monkey at the end of each month. And if you're interested in purchasing Chef's latest book, The Recipe, A story of loss, love, and the ingredients to greatness. Head on over to his website at chefcharlescarroll.com.
Welcome back, Recipe Goers. I am your host, Chef Charles Carroll, and we're Jess is out on some remote location. We don't know where she. Yeah, somewhere. But we do have the famous Phoenix Phil Rosas saying, so Phil.
Hey.
So, Phil, are you excited about today or what?
I am. This guy's been in a lot of movies that I really like. One of my favorite ones was Saving Private Ryan. That's a really good movie.
So, well, let me tell you something. Let's get this puppy going. I'm excited to introduce actor Max Martini, ladies. And I know I got some ladies out there already saying, well, you're kidding me, right? Max Martini. And you've probably seen him in the trilogy of 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, all three of them, right? 50 Shades Darker or 50 Shades Freed. I don't know. That's probably why Jess is not here.
Yeah.
She probably couldn't deal with that.
She couldn't take it. She couldn't take it.
Too much shades going on there. But, yeah, so he was in that. And, I mean, with a name like Max Martini, we're going to get into that later, but shit, you got to be a star right from the start, right? With
a name like Max Martini.
James Bond stuff. What else do we have? Talk about some of the other movies. Captain Phillips, right, with Tom Hanks, man. That was amazing. And actually, my buddy, my co-author, John David Mann, he wrote the book for the guy who took that shot. You know, So we'll get in. We'll talk to Max about that. Sabotage, Red Bill, Saving Private Ryan. You mentioned the Great Raid, Contact, and then he's on a CBS series, The Unit. And my wife and I love watching that one. And he's actually just completed directing his own movie that he wrote, and he starred in, and that's called Will Gardner. He's also starred in roles in Edge. And I mean, the guy is busy, right? I mean, what else? So let's go ahead and just bring him in. I'm so honored to introduce to our guest, Mr. Max Martini. Max, how's it going today, brother?
So well. Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
Are you kidding me? I mean, Phil and I are just blessed to be on with such a star, man. But hey, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and how it all got going, and tell us a little bit more about you.
You know, I was born in upstate New York, and my father was born in Rome, in Italy. And he was living in upstate. He's a sculptor. And my mother, oddly, from Texas, was in law enforcement, just an odd couple from the get-go. But they separated. My dad stayed in New York. My mother went back to Texas and continued in law enforcement. And she remarried an old flame from high school who became my stepfather, and he was in the entertainment industry. You know, so as a kid, he would throw me into movies and, you know, whatever, you know, give me a line and say, run over there and say this. And, you know, so that's how I kind of got a taste for it. Then when I went to college, I actually got my degree in fine arts. I wanted, you know, that had always been lingering. So I had a fantasy of, you know, possibly painting and sculpting and doing that. But then when I got out of college, I owed, you know, $150,000 in student loans. So I got back into acting to pay for my art degree. And then I never turned back. But, you know, and it's been a great road and very exciting. And, you know, I heard you guys mention the movie that I just did, but we can get into that. But it's really it's got me very passionate about certain things and people and so it's serving a bigger purpose than just entertainment.
Yeah, let's unwrap that a little bit, because you see in this, or as a non-professional movie person, you kind of see that more and more, where you have an actor and it becomes very, very successful, and then he kind of turns the page and, you know, writes something and then turns the page again and then produces it and stars in it. Kind of tell us about that. Was there something pushing you on that, or was it a tick box, or what was it?
I'll give you kind of a brief history of the movie that I just wrote and directed. The driving force behind that was to raise money for, it's about a war veteran, was to raise money for charities that support war veterans that are injured or that are in need.
Awesome.
This actually, you know, goes all the way back to Saving Private Ryan. You know, I when I got into this industry, like I said, it was really to pay off my university. And, you know, I was doing a lot of money jobs that are fine, that, you know, serve kind of one purpose, which is to entertain, which is great. But then Saving Private Ryan, you know, was the first historical film that I did that depicted something that actually happened. That when we had our premiere, one of the most impactful moments of that premiere was speaking to these World War II vets at the end of it. That this movie kind of sparked a conversation about their experiences that they had been sitting on for years. And so Saving Private Ryan in a weird way, kind of changed it changed me. It changed, because it led to all these different war films, most of which are, talking about events that actually happened. Some, like for instance, I just did 13 Hours, the Benghazi story. Those guys, a lot of the survivors were there with us. But it shaped, it suddenly, one day I realized I had, that most of my friends were military, that my politics were different. My like I said, I had this, incredible desire to help these guys and get into all this charitable work, which I started doing, well before the movie that I directed. Private Ryan sort of in a weird way, just kind of shaped me, into who I am today. And, I think about it often, but it's, film is such an incredible tool to reach people, and to make a social statement or to raise money and change lives. And you have the eyes and ears as a celebrity of so many people. And if you have an intention, it really can be serving. So.
Yeah, I was blessed to go to Afghanistan 3 times. I'm not in the military, but I went over there and we put on shows for the troops, and just it changed my life. I was over there for 10 days, and once in Bagram, and the other time was in Kandahar, and we did a total of 8 shows in forward operating bases, and I saw more stuff over there and I mean, I'm just hugging everybody. It just changed my life, my world, and I don't think people have a true. We see a lot of movies, but we don't have a true understanding of what those men and ladies are doing for us overseas. So I for one, thank you for all that and everything you do for the military in recognizing that. So,
I'd love to add to that. I just, when we were shooting the unit, myself and Robert Patrick and Dennis Haysbert took the initiative to kind of, get over there and do the same thing and go see these, the men and women that were serving. And it was really life changing for us, also. I mean, I remember, the first real thing that I recognized was, how young these guys are. I mean, we got off this C-130 and, we just walked out into a sea of pimply faces, and we, and you realize the sacrifices that these young men and women are making, so that we enjoy the freedoms and liberties that we do every day when we wake up in this country. And 2 things hit me. One, I felt like I missed a calling. I really would have loved to have served our armed forces, and certain people have leadership qualities. I think I have those, and I got over there and saw these young kids, and like, God, I could have, led half of them. So, so that was a regret. But then when I got back, I just made it my life's purpose to do what I could as an actor and entertainer, and reminding people that when they come home, we have to take care of them. We have to set an example, because our military is voluntary.
Yeah.
We're not drafting kids. I mean, we're recruiting these kids to come in and fight. And, we have a responsibility to them when they get home. So I applaud you for going over there. And I think if anybody has the opportunity to actually go see what they're doing abroad, it's life altering.
Quickly, Max, we went over there and we were there 10 days and we saw live missions taking off. They had to hold up our show because there was a helicopter down in a war zone, and it was actually, there was a couple casualties, and our show was held up because they had the next day because of what they called a ramp service. And the general was involved in that before you could open up our show. And it was so surreal. And it was, we went into and saw the Purple Hearts, and we saw the missions. And when I got back into Kuwait, we were there a couple days laid over, and I was mentally and physically and everything wiped out. Half reasons were because I planned the show for a year and my dream finally happened. But the other half it was I just couldn't get over everything that I saw. And it took me a good 2 weeks to get over it. And I can't imagine, I wasn't getting shot at, So, yeah, I'm just so passionate about it, and hugs to all of them when I could.
Max.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just got asked to do this thing this is kind of interesting. It's, I'm going to Dubai at the end of the year, and they've invited me as a writer to come over, and the military's involved in this in a kind of roundabout way, but it's to lecture to writers native to that region on how to instill American values into their writing for two purposes. I think, on paper, it's so that their writing is more relevant here, that, it potentially could reach the U.S. In the roundabout way, I think the military involvement is to, hopefully influence young people that see these movies in that region and deter them from getting involved in extremist activities and whatnot. But I thought that was just another example of how powerful film can be. Actually the military is using it to reach young people that might get involved in terrorist activity. So,
you said that Saving Private Ryan pretty much set the stage for you to be in military roles. Is there another reason why you get those roles, or you just enjoy playing those roles?
Well, I don't. I've got the deep gravelly voice, and I'm sure that just like,
Eric the trainer's got you all buffed out. Yeah, so
there you go. Eric the trainer's got me buffed, and I'm sure I look the role. I've actually I'm trying to veer away from that, because at a certain point, my manager came up to me and goes, "So, you just want to play colonels now, or where? Like, what direction are we heading?" And I was like, "Okay, let's give it a shot and play something else." But
if you shaved, you probably wouldn't get any of those roles. I don't know.
That's right. But Private Ryan really, it was the biggest move. It was the first big. I did Contact with Jodie Foster and Robert Zemeckis, and
saw that one too.
I'm a much better actor now, but I look back at that thing and I'm horrified. But Saving Private Ryan was the next big film, and I think for all of us that were in that movie, it kind of, set us all in motion,
Yeah.
And so I just rode the wave, and here I am.
Yeah. So did that kind of unpacking that a little bit, being in that blockbuster, this big screen movie, and then also being there with Tom Hanks, does that kind of catapult you into where you are today? Was that definitely a stepping stone for you? And does Tom Hanks help you, to your next gig, or how does that work in the film world?
It's a huge assist. It's really like this industry is, getting in these doors to kind of be, and to be considered for, for the roles that you want. It's really, what was your last film? There's a saying that you're only as good as your last film,
Right.
So if you keep, that ball rolling, but for sure, like Hanks and I have worked together. We did Captain Phillips together after Private Ryan. Spielberg and I have done a couple things. I did a mini series for him. It just kind of work begets work, and I end up working for the same people a lot. But yeah, for sure, to answer your question, it was a big assist for me in my career.
So I gotta tell you a story. We just talked about, we met for the first time, I think it was a year and a half or 2 years ago. I was out with Robert Irvine on his thing there, and we had a picture together, and that was about it. But I came home, and my wife and I went to a movie. It was I forgot the name. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger. You were in it. It was just Sabotage.
Sabotage.
Yeah. So we're sitting on the couch, and then we're having a glass of wine. And I said, "Oh, honey," I said, "That's Max right there. That's Max. I just met him. You know, like we're buds. You know, like we know each other. Yeah. I know this guy. We're buds, and but bro, I mean, come on. I mean, I think it was like 30 minutes into a movie. You fell asleep in a mobile home on top of a railroad track, and you got killed. You were killed off. Is that right? I'm like, come on, Max. You're on a railroad track.
How do you think I felt?
Oh, that was funny. But yeah,
it was. I'll tell you what, though, the highlight of that film was meeting Schwarzenegger. I mean, he just is hilarious, and you know, I'll tell you a quick story. He invited me. We finished the movie, and I get this invite in the mail to his house for a Christmas party. I mean, this is I don't know, 6-7 months later. And I go up to my wife. I go, Schwarzenegger just invited me to his house. Like you know, and she didn't want to go. So I called up one of my buddies. I said, hey, you want to come hang out with me with Arnold? So we walk in. I'm thinking it's going to be a 700 person, big. Right. I'll never see him party. And there's about 30 people there. Oh, I get sat with him and Tom Arnold, and I walk in, and I told you guys, like, I have this degree in fine arts, so I've got pretty good knowledge of art history and whatnot. And I walk into his house. Oh, by the way, okay, so we pull into the valet, and we get out of my pickup truck, which is got a 4-inch lift on it, and there's a camel in his driveway.
Oh gosh!
And my buddy and I are like, "What?" And so we pass the camel. This woman walks out carrying a baby lamb, and I'm not kidding you. We go into the house. There's a kangaroo. There's a white tiger in his drained out swimming pool.
Oh my gosh!
That somebody's holding on a leash. He had rented all these exotic animals.
That's neat.
Threw him into his house. Big Cuban lady rolling cigars in the corner. So I sit down with Arnold, and I said, hey, listen, this is a pretty impressive art collection. I've got this background. He goes, oh, do you know art? I said, yeah. He goes, are you still doing your artwork? And I said, off and on, I miss it, But he goes, let me show you some of mine. And he takes me into his bathroom. Shuts the door. We're in this tiny little 3/4 bathroom, and he turns me around to look at the back of his door, and there's a painting of a Christmas tree on the back of the door that looks like my 10-year-old did. And I'm standing in this very small hot room with Arnold trying to come up with something to say about his finger painting. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. But, I wonder what inspired that in the bathroom. But anyway.
I had no idea.
Hey, kind of touching back on a sensitive subject that's going on right now, Max. You're being so embedded in the military as I am, and at least as our history goes. And what is your thoughts on the NFL right now versus Trump and all this BS that's going on? And what do you think about the players taking a knee?
Well, you could have. That's the one thing that you could have asked me.
Right.
It's infuriating.
Yeah. Right.
And it really is. I've completely boycotted the NFL, and I'm a junkie. Hard to do, and it's. Here's my thought is that I have way too many friends that have fought for our flag and for that song. And guys that have come back, they can't take a knee because they're amputees.
Exactly.
You have the right to protest as much as you want. Those guys have the camera on them 247. This 3 minutes of saluting this country, don't disrespect it. That's, I'll tell you what, and I've had this talk with my kids, with my wife, friends. This is the best country in the world. There's a reason why people are fighting and dying to get to this country, And as many problems as we have, our progression to end oppression is, I think, substantial.
Mm-hmm.
But back to what I was going to say is they have the cameras on them. Just take the time, take this 3 minutes, respect what this country stands for, and then use your voice outside of that and take it to the streets.
Yeah,
but
I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, I'm 100% for crying out loud. I mean, and what pisses me off more than anything right now is we're spending more time debating this than we are, trying to take care of the issue itself. I get it. I support the issue. I support the protests and all that, but we're not handling this right. And I think, Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones, but I think maybe if you had to do something, maybe they got it right. They knelt before, and then they stood up for the flag. So, I mean, but at least they stood, so I'm just furious about it too. And I made a mistake of putting something on Twitter the other day, and Jesus, it never ended. And anyway, I don't want to go down that road right now, but yeah, we touched base about Eric the trainer, and obviously he's a brother of ours and an amazing guy. He made it I'm trying to get back into the movie world and how you have to get yourself ready for a movie. Eric made this statement that if I'm a chef and I need to make a certain kind of meal, I get the ingredients and I make that particular meal the way it needs to be. And you're getting ready for a movie. You need to bulk up or bulk down or lose weight. I forgot some of those actors. What the guy in Texas there? He had to lose all that weight.
Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, McConaughey.
Yeah, I mean, my God, he that kind of thing. So how do you prepare yourself? And do you have to go through a lot of that of bulking up or bulking down?
I do. What I do is I stay bigger because it's in a pocket, because it's much easier to take it off than it is to put it on. And, for the roles that I play, I do a lot of action, films. In these military roles, I stay pretty bulky. I mean, Eric's great, and that the thing that, and actually, I mean, the thing to realize is that it's so much in the kitchen. I mean, in terms of what you do, it's really, Eric and I had a talk a long time years ago, and, he said at a certain, when I came to him, he goes, "You go to the gym, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "How often you go to the gym?" So, I don't know, 5 days a week. He goes, "Then why aren't you bigger?" I said, "Well, that's a good question." He goes, "Because you're not eating properly, and the only way to put on muscle is to eat enough, that your body has the right amount of protein to build the muscle." So, I would say, God, 50% in the kitchen, 60% in the kitchen, and
right.
The rest is in the gym. But he's amazing, and his techniques are amazing, and he's the go-to Hollywood guy. I mean, he's gotten me ready. He got me ready for Pacific Rim, which was a big action movie.
Yeah,
Captain Phillips, even Sabotage, I think was maybe earlier on. But yeah, Eric's. I need him to stay in Hollywood and stay close by.
So Pacific Rim was your first big leading role, wasn't it? Or was there another one before that?
It was that may have been the first big one. Yeah.
How was that taking on like the role of the leading guy in a movie like that? Is it much harder than just the supporting roles? I mean, I imagine it was, but
what was hard about that film was it honestly the supporting roles are smaller or more difficult to answer your question. It's really when you get a sizable role, there's a great sort of character emotional journey that's already sort of mapped out by the writers. I mean, it's the characters usually come around full circle, and when you're in these, smaller supporting roles, you have to create that a lot of times. It's a lot more work. That movie in particular was very difficult because it was 85% green screen, which I had never done.
Oh boy.
So I get into these sound stages and, it's just a bunch of green blocks and green screens everywhere.
What am I looking at?
And what am I looking at? And you're acting to these little laser pointers, on the wall that turn out to be giant lizards. I didn't even know what, the monsters were going to look like. I was like, so that was the experience. That was a complete surprise, that experience, but fun to work on. And Guillermo del Toro, the director, is just a masterful talent.
So I got a quick question then. We got to get into this shade stuff, man. I mean, my wife and I were watching the other day, and I was thinking that, and that's what I think. I say, you know what? I got to call Eric to see if he can connect us with Max. But come on, Max, tell me the truth. Did this movie kind of change things for you at home, man? I mean, did it? How you guys doing
at home?
I mean, there's all kinds of ideas in that movie. I mean, I'm just saying.
My wife, look, she read all the books. This is the producing team from Captain Phillips. And when I was doing that, they said, hey, look, you want to come do these 50 Shades movies? And my buddy Dana Brunetti, I didn't know what they were. I'd never heard of the books even. And I told my wife, and she was, dude, they're going to be huge. You have to do them. You got to do them. She's like, every woman in this country is going to go see these movies. I'm like, all right. So I go on. I mean, look, it was a great payday. All I do is open the car door and shut it and, beat up a couple guys and, but yeah, hugely popular. And, I don't open the conversation with that one, but yes, I'll admit I was in them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess maybe a harder question, with all the BS going on right now with Weinstein, my wife and I had some conversations about it, and all of a sudden there's this onslaught of 50, 60 women coming out. And I think we kind of understand, when you're a 20-something woman coming up through this world and your approach with this, and either you could slide right off the map, or so things happen maybe. But why wait so long? Like Angelina Jolie. Yeah, Jolie. Yeah. I mean, she was powerful a long time ago. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about this? This is kind of too bad, right? It's kind of a bruise for Hollywood.
I don't know if it's a bruise for Hollywood. I mean, look, here's
or anywhere.
I think. Yeah, I mean, look, it is a bruise. Absolutely. Is it gonna? I love that everybody's coming out. I mean, to me, it's just baffling how somebody like that can last this long, and I mean, look, I'm a guy. You it exists. I don't have any experience with that. I've never, no one's, ever made me do anything to get a job, but it's like,
you're a big dude though.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't go well, but, but look, it's horrific what happened, and friends of mine, have come out against him, and that I had no idea. And, he's done in Hollywood, which is a good thing. And, and I think as the movement gets bigger and bigger, and also this hashtag Me Too, movement on Twitter, I think more and more people are going to be kind of thrown to the wolves, and, maybe Hollywood gets the opportunity to do some spring cleaning, but
right.
And then additionally, I have friends in the music industry, and there's people coming out there too. So
yeah, this hashtag thing, I think is I think a lot of people are jumping on, with social media, with the thing with the kneeling and the banter that's going on. I mean, I think stuff comes out quicker now, and there's ways of people are drawing attention to things faster, it seems. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I think it's going to become the way.
Yeah, it's easier to get your voice heard that way.
Yeah. So
I do too. Yeah.
So we're kind of up against it here, Max. Tell us a little bit about this the movie that you wrote. I know you did it in an amazing reason to donate some money back. But when is that movie coming out, and what can we expect? And congratulations, by the way.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a big accomplishment. I mean, it was a long, hard road to get the funding. Primarily because we were giving. At one time we wanted to give 50% to charity, and it was just impossible to get financiers on board at that. But we managed to hold on to 30% for charity, which is still a huge chunk.
Huge.
a little background. When I was in Iraq, I met this kid, and I'll give you the brief story. On a tarmac, Army Ranger. He was a fan of the unit, kind of, just couldn't believe I was standing there in front of him. And so we had a great conversation, and I gave him my email, and I was like, hey buddy, keep in touch. And so in our communications while he was in combat, he one day decided to use me as a springboard and just dumped everything on me. He had at that time survived 2 IED detonations, the last of which killed his entire team except for him. And so when this buddy of mine came back to the U.S., it took him 4 years with the VA to arrive at 20% benefits. It took him 6 years to get to 80. And he was he should have been at the front of the line.
Right.
And so he was the one that inspired me to write this movie, and the movie's about a war veteran that returns with traumatic brain injuries. The movie addresses TBI, it addresses PTSD, it addresses, the homeless veteran crisis in the U.S. And my intention behind it, which I believe is successful, is that at the end of the film, it'll inspire people to give back. It's right now we're trying to get into Sundance, South by Southwest, Tribeca. We're submitting to festivals. We turned down a lot of distribution offers because they were coming in quickly, and we just decided to sit on them. But I would say in the next year it'll be out. It's called Will Gardner. I mean, if you hear about it, please go see it. Please support it. We'll have the 3 charities that I support at the end of the film, so people know that these are 3 vetted charities that get money to veterans the money does not go to administrative costs. It goes straight to the men and women that need it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome. Well,
thanks.
We're kind of up against it, man. We could talk to you for another hour, but you're such a good sport and a real nice guy to do this for us. And hopefully next time I'm out in LA and Eric's beating up on me, I'll give you a buzz. But
I would love that.
Yeah, man. If you're ever in Houston, you have a warm meal waiting for you. And
so nice.
Yeah, and we will look forward to that. So ladies and gentlemen, a big shout out and thank you to Max Martini. We're so happy that you came on with us today, and that kind of wraps up today's episode of the Recipe Podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we sure do appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you again to Max Martini.
Thanks, Max.
And his life lessons. You're only as good as your last film, and make sure that y'all go out and see Will Gardner when that comes out. And you all know it's going to be brilliant, and we want to support the men and women that need help when they come back. And they certainly deserve every dime they can get. So thank you, Max, for doing that. So listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. And please review, rave, rank, and subscribe and share with iTunes or Google Play or wherever you download this show. Tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your father, a friend. Please share this show and all our shows. And we sure do appreciate that help there. That's how it works. We love you for that. And so that's the show. Always remember, you're special, you're great. Make an impact on someone's life today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into The Recipe Podcast. You can find more episodes at chefcharlescarroll.com. And while you're there, feel free to ask questions or recommend guests for our show. To purchase Chef's latest book, The Recipe, go to theingredientsofgreatness.com. Have an incredible week. We'll see you next time.